Y'all want to see Miss Cleo scam a bunch of white people? Ray Martin is struggling to make ends meet, so when an opportunity comes to earn more, she eagerly accepts it. While she's cleaning, she sees a woman checking the inside of the house.
I haven't seen you here before.
White Karen spotted. Ray introduces herself and reveals that the owner of the house, Dr. Patel, hired her to clean. The woman asks about the doctor, but specifically asks Ray not to tell anyone she came by. Ray works for a cleaning company, and she first met Dr. Patel when she cleaned his clinic. Happy with her work, Dr. Patel hired Ray directly and asked her to clean his home. He even offered Ray to name her price. Upon hearing this, Ray knew she couldn't miss such an opportunity. So she said yes, and the doctor gave her his number. Even though Ray is busy, she still has time for her best friend Mari. Mari has 2 daughters, and Ray looks after the kids when she has time and even drives them to school. So she's working for free? On their days off, the 2 best friends spend the nights dancing and catching up. They both work hard, so when they don't have anything else to do, they make sure to have fun in each other's company. Fast forward to the present. While Ray is cleaning, she catches the woman and the doctor himself arguing outside. It looks intense, and Ray can only guess what it's about. After 3 hours of work, Dr. Patel finally writes a check for Ray. Ray is surprised at the amount of money the doctor paid her. It turns out that the woman who visited earlier is a family friend, Jean Lacias, and Dr. Patel wonders if Ray can also clean her house. Still, Dr. Patel tells Ray she doesn't have to accept the job if she doesn't want to. But because the doctor said the payment for Jean's house cleaning is included in the check, Ray gets in the car and heads over to the Lacias. She's greeted by Ed Lacias and then Jean herself. Ray initially expects that she's going to be cleaning, but Jean whispers she doesn't need Ray's help at all. "Girl, why this sounding like some get-out shit?" Jean proceeds to ask Ray's rate when it comes to cleaning houses. Because Ray had never been directly asked to house clean before, she doesn't know what to say. So she explains that her rate varies depending on the work and the size of the house. But she also reminds Jean that Dr. Patel already paid for the service, so there's no need to pay again. Jean looks around to check if there's anything to clean, and then she turns to Ray and tells her to start in the bathroom. She sees a funny drawing of Jean and Ed, and she can't help but take a photo of it. Eventually, Ray ends up in the basement where Ed is. Ed starts to talk about the U.S. flags he's photographed in different states, and Ray shows genuine interest in his story. "Those flags are a big red flag, girl. Run." When it's time to clean the living room, Ray sees Jean so hooked on Madeline the Medium. It's a TV show where a woman named Madeline talks to ghosts and lets people connect to their dead loved ones. Jean admits she's into the voodoo stuff.
I've always been interested in getting someone to do whatever I want.
Oh, so just like every other Karen. Suddenly, Ray exclaims that she too can see things like ghosts. Jean can't believe it to be true, so she proceeds to talk about her neighbors, Dr. Patel and his wife, Tracy. Jean admits that she doesn't like Tracy because she's a liar, but she doesn't explain her reason for thinking of Tracy this way. Ray then starts to act as if she's feeling a presence in the room. She thinks of the photo of a woman she saw earlier in the living room. Then, with her eyes closed, she begins to mention vague things until she gets a reaction from Jean. But this is enough for Jean to assume that Ray is sensing her dead sister, who died of choking on a Big D a few years ago. Even Ray is shocked at how easy it is to fool Jean. Later that night, Ray picks up her mom and drops her off at work. It's also a chance for them to bond since Ray is busy all day. The next day, Mari calls again and asks Ray to look after the kids. She has to work some extra shifts to earn more, so she relies on her best friend to help her out. One day, Dr. Patel calls Ray again. It's the first time that Ray gets to meet the doctor's wife, Tracy, and their daughter, Sunny. It seems like a quiet family, but there is tension in every conversation, and Ray is quick to catch up to that. Dr. Patel shares that Ray is now working at the Lacias house, and Tracy congratulates Ray for her growing business. Now that Jean sees Ray as a medium, she calls her over again for a reading. Ray asks for a $100 payment for the service. Jean pays and expects to hear more about her sister. However, Ray says that she can't feel Jean's sister at the moment. Knowing that Jean will want to get something out of the fee, Ray thinks of the time she saw Jean and Dr. Patel arguing. Using that memory, Ray assumes that Jean has feelings for the doctor. She proceeds to mention that Jean has love in her life that is not good for her at all. Ray says all this while being vague and not dropping names, letting Jean assume the explanation herself, basically telling Jean not to be a trifling heifer. When Jean returns to the Patel's house, Sonny asks her for a ride at the thrift store. Afterward, Ray asks Sonny to pay her since the ride is not free at all. Though surprised, Sonny doesn't have a choice but to pay. When they're about to leave, Ray accidentally hits a post and ends up damaging her car. Ray doesn't say anything to Dr. Patel, and instead, she just continues to offer her service every time the two families need it. Sometimes Ray overhears Dr. Patel and Tracy fighting. At other times, she sees how Tracy doesn't even want to use the clothes her husband bought her.
Do you want it?
No, that's okay.
Even the poor don't want your ugly fit. Because of how busy she is, Ray sometimes messes up her schedule. One time, Ray even forgets she's supposed to pick up her mom and babysit for Mari. A few days later, Jean visits the Patels to invite them to a party. Ed's charges were just dropped for his participation on January 6th, and they're throwing a celebration on Saturday for him. Jean tells Tracy about Ray's ability, and Tracy is more than happy to try it out herself. Because it's quick money, Ray eagerly agrees to do a reading for $100. Jean goes first, and like before, Ray starts with saying something vague. Then she remembers that Dr. Patel is wearing a bright red shirt. Ray uses this and tells Jean that something red is important to her. No name is dropped, and yet Jean thinks that Ray can see right through her. Jean wants some of that tikka masala. When it's Tracy's turn, Ray thinks of the times that Tracy looked unhappy. Then Ray says that Tracy has a hole of darkness in her that needs to be filled. I'm sure that's not the only hole that needs to be filled. But she also notes that Tracy has already given too much to give up now. Because Ray is working most days now, she doesn't have much energy like she used to. She even forgets she's cooking something and almost starts a fire accidentally. One day, Dr. Patel reveals that Tracy left the house and hasn't come back. He believes that his wife just needs some time, but will return eventually. Ray suspects it has something to do with what she said to Tracy. Ray notices that Dr. Patel is watching a soccer game while using the treadmill. Suddenly, she adjusts the number and makes the machine go faster. The doctor enjoys it at first and asks Ray to keep making it go fast until finally, he slips and hits his head. On the day of the party, the Lacias house is packed with guests. Ray is there both as a guest and as a housekeeper. Jean is evidently stressed, but there's no way to tell what's going on in her mind. Ray meets a foreign man who has approached her for a bit of small talk. She tells him that she's a therapist who tells people what they want to hear. Then Ray is surprised to see that the cute framed drawing of Jean and Ed is already cracked and has fallen to the floor. Everything is going so well between Ray and the hot guy until she sees him making out with another guest. Jean has also told other people about Ray's ability. So when one of them asks Ray if she sees death around her, Ray just nods, frightening the guest. On top of that, Ray catches Sonny stealing some jewelry. When she tells Sonny to put the jewelry back, Sonny says Ray should go back to cleaning the toilet. A lot of things happened, and Jean even hurts herself while playing with a knife. Ray is so stressed with everything that she heads to a bar afterwards and dances her heart out that night. She literally looks possessed with spirits. A few days later, Tracy returns. She looks so unhappy, and Ray doesn't want to bother her. But Tracy reveals that she never intended to leave. She explains that after work, she just kept driving until she ended up at a bar. There she met a nice man who talked a lot. It was all good, and Tracy eventually went home with the stranger to fill up her dark hole. Though it was fine, Tracy says it wasn't any different from any other D that she had before, and so she went home. Ray gets back to work without saying much. In the kitchen, Sonny keeps waiting for Ray to pay her some attention. Then she asks Ray to juggle for her. When Ray refuses, Sonny breaks the eggs to annoy Ray even more, leaving the mess for her to clean. I would have slapped that little hoe. One night, Ray has some time to spend with her mother. They drink, talk, laugh, and break some plates for fun. Willie Mae says that she got fired from her job because she couldn't come to work on time the past few days. Ray feels bad because she used to drive her mom to work before she got busy with the Patels and the Lacias. However, Willie Mae says she's not at all worried because she can just look for a new job. One day, Tracy tells Ray they have something to discuss. Tracy explains that it's very uncomfortable for her to talk about it, but she has to since Jean approached her. It turns out that some jewelry went missing from the Lacias house, and they all want to know if Ray took it. Instead of denying it, Ray takes a good look at the three and says she took the bracelet and necklace from Jean's drawer and sold them online for $100. Ray even adds that now the truth has come out, Jean, Tracy, and Dr. Patel can all go to the cops and rat her out so she'll be jailed. Ray smiles while the three all look dumbfounded. Then Ray goes to Sunny and juggles for her. Then, as a small act of revenge, she breaks the eggs for Sunny to clean. Miss Ray cracked. Later that day, Ray's car finally breaks down. She immediately calls Mari to pick her up, and Mari doesn't hesitate to help her friend. Now that she no longer works as a medium and as a housekeeper, Ray has more time to spend with her loved ones. Just like before, Ray is always at Marie's house when she doesn't have anything on her schedule. On other days, she's with her mother and catching up with her. Even without her side hustles, Ray is doing just fine being with people that she loves. The Patels and the Lacias never again crossed her mind. What in the helly kind of movie was that? No climax, just edging me the entire time. The acting by Kirby Howell-Baptiste was good, and I need to see her in more things. What did you guys think of this one?
If you like this video, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because YouTube isn't recommending my videos. And if you would like to watch more foolishness, click here or here.